Howdy y'all, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. I'm Tim. We're about to give you a top 5 for Bjorn Delfin. And guys, get ready, get excited. We're down here at Stephen F. Austin University at Nacogdoches, Texas, walking around the gardens. We got a bunch of videos coming out down here at Nacogdoches. But you drove all the way over here from Dallas.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah.
How far of a drive is that?
About 4 hours.
4 hours?
With stopovers, yeah.
Well, Bjorn, how long have you been growing Japanese maples?
I've been growing them for 4 years.
Yeah?
Started during the pandemic, March 2020. I started with Shishigashira. Then it just, now we're here.
That's a great one to start with. A lot of people start off with a red upright or a red weeper.
Yeah.
To go ahead and start with something with that kind of sophistication, Shishigashira, the lion's head Japanese maple, it's a good place to start.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. So it was is this a maple? And then it just, the addiction came from there.
What about Japanese maples made you catch that bug about them?
Well, the varieties that I've seen, it just catch my attention, and then I started watching your videos on YouTube, and just it added even more to the collection.
I will admit, whenever you get one, then you fall in love with it, and then all of a sudden you start seeing all these different varieties. I mean, that's how we end up with 1,500 different varieties.
Yeah.
How many Japanese maples do you have now?
I would say 50 plus.
50 plus.
50 plus. That's a conservative estimate.
That's awesome. So we're going to get into Bjorn Delfin's top 5 Japanese maples. Let's go.
5.
So what do you have for your number 5 Japanese maple?
Number 5, I have Germaine's Gyration. So,
what do you like about it?
well, I just saw your videos, and I saw how wild it gets. So I've had it planted in the front of my yard. So it's starting on a 3-gallon, and I just love how it's forming right now.
How did you give it lots of space to grow?
No, I clamped it up with next to a Jordan behind it and an Emperor one right next to it.
See, when we started my parents' yard, on their lower side of their yard, we planted a Germaine's Gyration 7-gallon, and we knew it grew big, but we didn't realize how big it was going to get in that space. And it's getting so big now that you can barely walk around the walkway. Mm-hmm. And it's probably every bit of 15 to 17 foot wide.
Yeah.
After 6 to 7 years from a 7-gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will take up a lot of room. But that's the reason I like Germaine's Gyration though. I mean, it twists, contorts, fills up a space, and then looks like a specimen that's 300 years old in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's the plan. It will be layered up with those trees that are right next to it.
Well, I mean, that's one of those things too. As they grow, you can always say, okay, I've decided I want to move this one over here. I want to do this over here. We're in the process of my parents' garden of going through and looking where we've put some plants where they were closer together and saying, okay, now's time. Next winter, we're going to be moving this tree to this location, this tree to that location. That's part of a garden, because the last thing you want to do is go in there and have big open spaces. You want to be able to enjoy them.
Yeah. And
so
who knows? I might get a bigger property and move it and plant more maples.
But then you're going to put that Germaine's Gyration, in that center focal point.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite Japanese maples too. I mean, it's a selection that was found and given to Germaine Isley, or found and given to John Isley, named after Germaine Isley. Mm-hmm. And just that twisting, contorting habit is spectacular. It is sometimes sold in the nursery trade as contorta as well. They are the same plant. Bigger leaf, fast growing, awesome green weeping lace leaf for the garden.
Yep. 4.
So let's get down to your number 4.
Number 4, right now I have Snow Kitten.
What do you like about Snow Kitten?
Oh, I love the foliage, pretty much. And I just trying to see how it does in Dallas, right? It's very hot in here, so we'll see how it goes.
I'm not gonna lie, Snow Kitten, it's one I fell in love with the first time I saw it. It's a variegated Mikawa. You get pink and white variegation on a Mikawa leaf with a Mikawa type growing habit. Yeah. What's not to like about that? But it can be a little more finicky tree. Mm-hmm. And It's one of those slow growers. Make sure it's got good drainage. My number one thing with those small, slow growing variegated dwarfs is good drainage. Because it's a dwarf, good drainage is essential. Because it's a Japanese maple, that's important too. But when you add that variegation, it ups the ante on making sure that you have good drainage on something like Snow Kitten. So a container's a great way to go. Give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun, but that splotch variegation on that, it's just outstanding. It was actually, the story originated with that tree as it was a sport that happened at Stanley and Sons Nursery in Oregon on a Mikawa Yatsubusa, and they didn't realize it at first. Snow collapsed a greenhouse, and as they were cleaning off where the greenhouse was, stuck up from the ground the variegated sport,
yeah,
which became Snow Kitten. It had a lot of other names, from Yamayuki, Yukiyama, Elmer. At one point it was even called Mikawa Nishiki, which is another Japanese maple name that. It would have been horrible if they would have kept that name.
Yeah.
But the Snow Kitten name just sort of stuck, and it's just a small little dwarf Mikawa type. I mean, that thing's beautiful.
Yeah, and the name is catchy.
It is. It is.
Number three is Mikawa Yatsubusa.
What do you like about Mikawa Yatsubusa?
Well, the structure itself, right? It's the layering leaves. They're just amazing. So I have like three in the house. So beat it.
Hey, it's hard to beat. The tightly layering habit. It looks like a little creature out there in the landscape. It's good for bonsai. Seedlings of it look amazing. The tree itself is hardy and easy for a lot of people to grow. Does well down here in the heat down here in Texas. There's a beautiful one over in the Ruby Mize Azalea garden we walked by earlier today. I mean, when it comes to a dwarf Japanese maple, Mikawa Yatsubusa is a classic.
Yeah.
And it's still one of the ones that draws people in. I think it's one of those plants that makes you realize there's more than just a red and a green Japanese maple. You see that and you're like, that tree looks like a little bonsai in the landscape.
Yep, and it does it naturally. Right? You don't have to do anything. It does it on its own.
And every Mikawa Yatsubusa has its own character and its own unique shape. And because of that, sometimes you can have 12 Mikawa Yatsubusas. And is that too much? Probably not. Because Mikawa Yatsubusa is beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
I'm loving a lot of your selections here. A lot of these would be in my top 10, top 15 for sure.
Two.
I love where we're going this. What do you have for your number 2 Japanese
Number 2, I have a hot one. There you go.
What do you like about Hot Blonde?
Yellow, pretty much. I'm like you. I love the color yellow.
Hot Blonde was a chance seedling that Matt and I found at what was the Keith Arboretum in Chapel Hill. We were walking around with Charlie Keith, and we saw an Acer oliveranum in the garden. We said, can we collect some seed on this? He said, I've tried collecting seed before, nothing's ever really came up, but you can collect some seed. We said, awesome. Yeah. We collected seed on it. And Hot Blonde was eventually found. Matt was walking through the greenhouse and said, that one's yellow. And I was like, is it really? I mean, maybe conditional. And it turned out to be really yellow.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be faster growing, leafing out late. So people who are in these cold zones, it performs well because it leaves out late, avoids that letter threat of frost. Oddly enough, at the Keith Arboretum, the only Japanese maple they had there that was yellow, Acer shirasawanum aureum. So it may actually be Acer oliveranum X shirasawanum. We'll have to do some DNA to prove that.
Hybridized.
yeah, but that may be the thing that hybridized with the Acer oliveranum. So you get the heat tolerance of Acer oliveranum, the later to leaf of Acer shirasawanum, the color like shirasawanum aureum, a little bit of red border sometimes. The new growth flushes in the summer can be a salmon pink.
Yeah.
And when we sent it to Talon Buchholz for him to evaluate, he was sending me back photos of it in fall color because it was electric. And in our greenhouses, we've seen the fall color last for a month. So Hot Blonde, real deserving in that number 2 spot. it's a plant that Matt and I are like, well, we should have patented it because it grows like a weed. It's easier for people to grow. It's hardy, leaves out late. It's everything you want in a Japanese maple. And guys, it's yellow. So you know I love yellow.
One.
I'm real interested to hear what your number one is because, I mean, you're speaking my language, Bjorn.
Yeah, it's number one is another yellow, Super Dragon.
Oh man, Acer truncatum Super Dragon. What do you like about that plant?
Yeah, I love the leaf color, and then the pink that it shows on the new growth on top of those greens. Yeah, you have it on a 5-gallon tree, and it's just electrifies your yard. It's amazing.
Metro Maples, Keith Johansson revolutionized Acer truncatum. He's a friend of ours. Scott's got the nursery now, and Super Dragon, when I got that from Keith and Scott, I got so excited. I'm like, this thing is amazing. At Talon Buckholtz's home, he had 2 huge Super Dragons in the ground there. And I'm just always like, what? Because you see this thing, and it's just so yellow. And it's just vibrant out there in the landscape. It's an Acer truncatum, and one of the first color variations of Acer truncatum.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time truncatums, you get green. There's a few variegated selections, not many. And then there's different fall colors, different shapes, different forms, different leaf forms. When you get yellow into Acer truncatum, the Shantung maple, you just created a tree that is extremely ornamental for the landscape. Tough as nails because it's Acer truncatum. I mean, that is an awesome plant.
Yeah, just need some little bit of shade in the afternoon, and it should be fine.
Yeah, and down here in Texas, just that yellow, for that one, you'll definitely get some protection from the hot afternoon sun. For us in Western North Carolina, it can actually handle some sun. Mm-hmm. And for some of the people around the country, you know, you can actually have a yellow in the sun. If you're in the deep south, Super Dragon, some protection from the hot afternoon sun is what I've been hearing from Scott. But that was a killer top 5, Bjorn. That's speaking my language.
Yep.
Y'all, Bjorn rocked it out with his top 5. Be thinking about your top 5s if we're happen to run into you. We'd love to shoot some top 5s with you. Let us know if you're coming to an open house. If you're coming to a garden that we may be visiting, let us know. We'd love to shoot a top 5 with you. Y'all, make sure you're subscribed. Smash that like button before you leave. And make sure you're subscribed to our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. We add 20 trees every Tuesday and 20 trees every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on MrMaple.com. Check us out. Take care. God bless, and have a great day.